Yes.
Okay, then we can begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fragments of Silicon officially cautioning against trying the new detergent pod and switch cartridge sandwich.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon, the European Interview Edition. Joining us this week is Nils Härgestam of Ludosity.
Hey, how's it going?
I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Härgestam, but it's impossible to pronounce that name right.
Duly noted. It's always a roll of the dice when we try to pronounce non-English names and even
it's
some
okay.
English.
It's such an archaic name, even here in Sweden, so no one can pronounce it right here either.
Right. So to listeners of the program, this is actually the second time we've had Ludosity on the program, but the first time we've had Nils. About 2 years ago, I think we had Joel on the program when It'll Do 2 was in production.
Yeah.
But now we have Nils here, and we're going to get his background. We'd like to start our interviews by getting to know the person, and we start by asking them how they got into video games, both professionally and as a hobby.
Well, the hobby started when I was barely conscious, since I have two older brothers, and we had a Nintendo system in the house. Well, it kind of went on from there, and the professional part of it, my older brother gave me click and play when I was very young, so that kind of got me into the interest of the creation of games. And when I finished school, I went on to the University of Skövde to the game graphics education there. And after I finished my time there, I've been with Ludosity for 5 years now, I think, around that. Doing I'm the second graphics guy on the company, next to Anton.
And how did you hook up with Ludosity?
Yeah, I pretty much just went to their office with a big portfolio of pictures. I'd checked out Bob Came in Pieces, and I had gone to the. Most of us went to the University of Skövde, so I kind of knew Daniel Remar a bit from school, and I pretty much hit it off good with the guys. I went and talked to the main graphics guy, Anton there. He had a Sisters of Mercy shirt on, and we talked music and kind of went on from there. My first introduction was to learn the graphic stylings for It'll Do, and thought it was was a lot of fun to do it. So I just kind of continued on from there, starting out with It'll Do 1, and the first real job was on real paid job was on Magica, the iPod Magica we did.
The Wizards of the Square.
Right, that one. That was my first non-intern job, and after that we finished up Itildu. I pretty much have just continued on during all these years since then.
And It'll Do was 2013, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, that's probably it. I mean, it's had so many releases over the years, but I think that's right for the earliest release.
Now, when you were going to school for graphical design, was that specifically for video games, or was that for?
Yeah. It's they have the University of Skövde has a couple of different video game oriented courses, and they have one for designers, they have for audio now, and I think one for writing and the graphics. I'm not sure they've kind of divided up the different courses differently over the years.
Yeah, sign of the times. I mean, since we get people from all different eras, people who got started in the 90s or even 10 years ago, they mentioned that there was none of this in college. Yeah,
it was kind of a new thing when I got on, and over the past years they've popped up a lot of different schools in there, and the the game education at the school has a lot of students over the years. It's crazy how popular it's become as a career.
Indeed. Anyway, shifting back to your It'll Do, exactly what did you design for that game?
I've started out kind of making just environmental drawings and stuff, 2D stuff, and as my internship, and from there I kind of just filled in after Anton had set the graphical styling and made the main character, so I filled in with anything that needed to be done. It was kind of a cool early thing to do, since I have had a lot of freedom given to me in what I do. So I made anything from area graphics to some enemy design, and made Ethan Carver's design. And one of my most fun early things was to do the Ethan's shop scene. That was a lot of fun, since there's a lot of it's kind of a crowded scene, so that was a lot of fun to do.
Yes, I think I remember that. Now, were there any issues keeping consistency?
Oh yeah, I mean it took a lot of time to get into Anton's styles. I had to redo a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff I did got scrapped, and the volcano enemy I made, I had to do a lot of versions of it before it kind of stuck to the stylings of the rest. But it was since most of our games are kind of evolutions of the style we set for that games, it was a very useful experience to go through it the long and hard way. since it's much easier now, being more familiar with Anton's stylings.
Yeah, experience will do that. Anyway, how long did you work on It'll Do?
Oh, It'll was we took a break in when doing Magica, and after we were done with Magica, we continued for. I mean, it's been it's so many years ago now. So, but I think. I'm unsure how long we took after being done with Magic to actually finish up the game. If it was one whole year or something like that, since we didn't have like all the areas and like the final boss areas, stuff like that done before we took a break and did the Magica game.
Right. I guess it makes sense to talk about that now. And in regards to Magica, Wizards of the Square tablet, given that this was this was something from another entity, I believe Paradox owns Magica.
Yeah, but it's a Paradox game, yes.
Yeah. Was the work on that much? Was the work on that much more restrictive than on, say, It'll Do?
Yeah, It'll Do was like everything us. So we had when doing Magica, we had had to fill some certain agreements, but we were actually given a lot of freedom with like the story and the scenario, even like the styling of the game and the main gameplay was we were pretty much given free hands for the main game. It was a lot of us. A lot of the game was like entirely our own design there.
And did your duties increase with this one, given that was your first paid effort?
Yeah, it was yeah. I mean, I had the internship was only for like I don't know a short while beforehand, so it's as I got into Magica, that was kind of like the time where I start to get the hang of the stylings, and so I got to do a lot more work that got into that game or like instantly, since I had gotten more comfortable with the whole workflow at the company. So I did some background, some enemies, overall, it's like working with only two people doing graphics. You have to kind of do a little bit of everything.
Right. And how is the workflow separated these days? And how has it changed from the early days of It'll Do and Magica?
Yeah, it's still pretty much the same with Anton being the like lead. He does the he has the say, and he can deny or accept anything I do, but the flow is different in these days. There's not as much denial in this stuff with the stuff I do. I mean, we can pretty much work. I pretty much give him the I pretty much say to him what I'm planning to do, and we have a short discussion of it, change a couple of ideas, and I go for it. It's much less of a hand holding than it was in the early days.
Makes sense. Since you've been working there for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, over 5 years. So we pretty much know each other's styling how it will go. At least if it's something that we're familiar with. When it's something new and something we haven't tried before, we tend to be more of a longer trying phase before we can get into the flow of it. We have to try different styles and techniques and tech and everything else, laying out the groundwork beforehand.
Indeed. And so Ludosity has a very distinctive art style, but not every game falls into that art style. For example, Princess Remedy, something like that, or Murray, or
we try to we have a lot of ideas, and we like a lot of different things, so trying out new things is a lot of fun. And with the different stylings, we try to do graphics that makes sense for the game, and try to in the case of Princess Remedy, that's a special case that was by the way entirely Anton's graphics in the first game there, and it was made during a game jam, so it was kind of his way of doing a very time efficient but appealing style of graphics in that game, since it's all very stylized, chibi, old computer style of the graphics there.
Right. I suppose on the flip side is, have there been any games by Ludosity where it was all your art?
No, it's I've worked on the things solo, but nothing that's been. We've made a lot of prototype games, and we do a lot of more stuff that doesn't get a full commercial release, just trying out different ideas and stuff. So in those cases, there's only one graphics guys needed. But since Anton is the lead graphics master at the company, he's always involved in the main games.
Makes sense. Let's see. So what did you work on after Magica?
Let's see. After Magica, it was it'll do one again, since we took a break. But after it'll do one, there probably was Card City Nights 1, I'd say. It's since, if I'm not misremembering, it was probably Card City Nights 1 directly afterwards.
And I suppose it's now time to actually talk about the Card City Nights games themselves. Because this is the game we are featuring here in the broadcast footage. Actually, Card City Nights 2. And if I'm recalling correctly, the two games actually have a number of differences between them.
Yes, both in the story and world and the actual core card game. There's a lot of differences between the games.
Indeed. Well, I suppose my first question is, how did you come up with the concept of Card City Nights? So,
Yeah, the game came from we had a lot of like prototyping and such going, and the one of the ideas that were going around at the time at the company was to combine several game elements into a game. Some game elements that's unlike each other. That's kind of where Princess Remedy came from as well, I suppose, with the whole shooting RPG mashup of that game. But the Cards in Night game were done like on started out as a side project, and we had tried out some different physical card games systems and board game systems at the company to make something out of. Matthias, our musician and programmer, had made some. He had put a lot of energy into making some good systems, but we took the his idea and for like a card game, I think, and we changed it a bit to make it like a more simplified version of it. I think, if I don't misremember, the idea he had for the game was not the exact same game we ended up with at the end, but the idea was for like a match 3 style card game with some strategic elements mixed with like a text adventure game, basically a visual novel style game I don't know when or how we came up with the whole whole setting for the game, but the setting we settled for was like the Bizarro version of our own games, and so we had made like some game jam games like Space Hunks and some other small games. So we had a lot of different games. So we kind of put characters and such from those games into a world gave them kind of different personalities mostly. Even though the characters from Mama and Son Clean House is in Card City Nights 1, they're not like treated as the same characters, so it's more of a visual reference than like a direct reference. And yeah, pretty much the same with the areas and the world of the titular card cities, that it's different Ludosity properties, but blended in, like filtered through the like stylings of an urban night city.
Indeed. And well, before I continue my line of questions, I want to see if my colleague Galix here has any questions, since he's our tabletop expert.
Well, I guess most of the stuff. I'm sorry, I was muted for the last couple of minutes. I guess some of the rules you came up with are pretty interesting. I don't know if I've ever played another game with quite stuff. Did you design this with any thoughts towards like if it would work as a actual card game, or was it all because I know there are mechanics that would.
We tried the game as a like a physical printed card game at first. We did that with some different like card game systems that we tried out, and some different board game stuff as well. We've made a couple, but the that's where both the system from Card City Knights 1 and 2 came from like a physical representation first before we settled on if this would work, since it takes a lot of it takes a lot of setup to make a like the working idea.
Yeah, it would certainly be a lot harder to do it physically because of all the countdown mechanisms and stuff, but I didn't notice that much that seemed impossible, which a lot of computer card games do.
You mean in the Card City Knights 2 with the countdowns and such?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first game worked is so much simpler than Card City Knights 2, but I mean it's if you have a lot of counters, you can make the Card City Knights 2 physical work fine, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because a lot of computerized card games do stuff that you couldn't do, but I didn't really notice anything like that, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's I guess it's just natural that we some of us play at the company that are interested in like tabletop stuff, so our brains kind of work towards that way, I guess.
And I did like with all the way that Ludosity has kind of all the common character designs and stuff between the different. I thought it was very fun to see all that stuff kind of thrown together.
Yeah, it was a fun thing to do, like try to, I guess, not that our characters and such were all that famous, but at least to ourselves it was fun to like subvert and change the expectations of some of the characters and such.
Right. I suppose on the line of questioning of a physical version, have you ever been approached by anyone who wanted to turn this game into an actual card game?
Not that I know of, really. We did, for like I think the Good Old Games release of the first Card City Knights. We made a print and play version for that when you get the game. I think it was that. I'm not entirely sure, but some release of the game had the option to print and play in that. But that's kind of as close as you get.
And in regards to Card City Knights 2 versus Card City Knights 1, exactly how much of a difference is there between the two games?
Yeah, first of all, the main game is the cord game is a kind of different beast. The first game, you only connect at least 3 cards together of the same type, and you get the effect instantly of those cards. But in the Card City Knights 2, you don't have the types of cards set like you do in the first game. So you have like a general card type, and you need to connect at least 3 of them to start the countdown. And when you don't have the instant effects, you have some time before the effect starts, so you have some more like tactical phase. And the other main big thing there is that in the first game you have the 2 different boards. You play on your own side on a much smaller board and try to fit your cards together independently of the opponent. But in the second game, we wanted to make it more interesting since we were adding the multiplayer function in the second game. We wanted to make it more interesting as a multiplayer game. So we made it a much bigger board where you play on the same board instead, so you can do tactical things like blocking or stealing energy from the opponents, just more like direct interaction between the cards.
And
Yeah, and the with the like main game, we had discussed for the first game like different settings we would set it in. So one of the strongest settings that didn't end up with the first game was a like a futuristic like sci-fi take. So that changed the setting. There's a lot of reoccurring characters in the second game, but once again their personalities have been changed, so we don't treat them as the same characters as like in the first game as well.
Right. So it's kind of like a different universe or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the parallel universe of the parallel universe. Even though we like to screw with the like the continuity and such with the game, so there's still references to the first game, so it purposely doesn't make any sense.
Hmm. Have you got any comments about that?
I don't know. I don't remember that, but I think some Let's Plays I've seen have like commented about like weird inconsistencies and stuff. So maybe.
I'm like, well, people do tend to notice those things if they're so inclined.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for Kart City Nights 2 to get created?
I think we started the game bit, or I think like late December 2016. I think, so, or was it early 2017, around the Christmas time there, and we continued on throughout summer. So about half a year, bit more than half a year, we worked on it. We had I think not including the like pre-production phase, since the pre-production was like done in between other projects we handled at the same time, so like smaller things, and we had going at the same time.
And given all the added complexity and everything, was it that much more difficult to make this game versus the first one?
Yes, and not only because of the complexity, since we decided to make it both a multiplayer compatible and like a single player campaign, that posed a lot of design problems, since a lot of cards are better in like more suited for single player stuff than and other things are more like specifically good for tactics that are easier to do in the multiplayer and stuff. So it kind of became tackling of two different games at the same time, but a change in one of those games would invertedly affect the other. So it became a hard thing to like untangle, since we had the beta testing out. So we let people play the game and give us feedback. So that resulted in a lot of play testing and a lot of balancing issues and such. So it was quite the difference from the first game, since the first game we pretty much just went with what felt good for the campaign, and since you can't get like higher tier cards early in the game, there's different card packs with like different levels of tiers.
Right.
We could easily more easily balance out what cards were sensible for early in the game and what cards you would get later. So that the game, like the second game, was way harder to make that in that regard.
Yeah, that's not surprising at all. I mean, Now, given everything that's been added to Card City Nights 2 here, like,
Yeah.
and on that note, were like all versions of the game in development at the same time, or was it PC first, or
Yeah, we usually usually start the like the PC gaming PC versions of a game first, and in this case, it was that this was the case here as well. So we made the first we released the PC version first, and then later we released it for like the version for mobile. But both version between PC and mobile can still play multiplayer between each other's.
Hmm. And is there a version in the works for consoles?
No, there's no console port as of now. We pretty much went went on with Slap City after we finished the mobile versions. So it's as of now, no.
Okay, right, and that sounds like a segue to me. So, Petty Fan, when you're ready, we'll play the Slap City trailer.
All right, I think it should be ready. Let me just switch
All right.
over audio and then I'll just play it.
Right then. So, Slap City may look a bit familiar to people here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, it does. It's the our take on the rising platform fighter genre. It's, we've been currently working on it like full time for a couple of months now, but the seed of of the game was quite interesting. Anton was making like as a mini game in It'll Do 2, a planned mini game. He was trying out a Smash Bros 64 styled like joke stage. He like styled it graphically after the Nintendo 64 game, but the game wasn't really finished back then. So it went all over to
Turns out fighting games are more complex to code than you might think.
Well, the thing is, his plan was just to make it a very simple, silly game. But he handed it over to programmer Elias, and Elias didn't settle for a simple thing. So he took it home and worked independently for like a year, just on his spare time, just making taking the like concept and just running hard with it. And he came back and showed us like a really solid, good fighting game engine. And so we decided that it was really we were really impressed, so we went with it and decided to make it our next big game. So we've kind of the ideas for like the game just kept pouring in for like what characters would be in what kind of characters we would have, on what their moves would be, what their style would be. So it felt like such a like such a certain match, perfect match for us.
Like,
Since
right.
we have the like a big roster of wacky characters, and they scream they're screaming for like duking it out in a like multi-character style game.
I think I recognize some of the characters here. Like there's Idle, and there's a couple of fish buns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the super buff fish bun.
Yeah, the super boss version of the fish bun, and there's Jenny Fox from the first Idle game too. But we have as of now we have planned up to 8 characters. But after that, we don't have a shortage of characters, so it all comes down to like how well the game does, and how much we will put into it.
Featuring Princess Remedy as Mr. Game & Watch.
Yes.
Right. I suppose that does bring another question: is exactly how close the fighting mechanics here are going to resemble Smash Brothers?
Well, the main games. I'm not the Smash player of the group, so I can't give you the finer details. But there are a few changes. But the idea was to, Smash Brothers plays like the play feeling of it feels like the right type of it's how you want a platform fighter to feel. So the idea is to make it feel like a good Smash Bros style game, and we kept the main ring out style of a game mode in there too, because that's what you expect and what you want out of the game type. But the characters are still like their own characters in like the move setups and the gimmicks and such. So it's not like the carbon copy of like characters. There's not like the exact analogies to like the Nintendo characters in that way. And plus we want to have some more game modes in there as well. We'll see how it goes with that. But so far we have the Smash Ball, the slap ball mode, the wacky basketball style game mode where you beat up on a ball instead and try to stick it into hoops, and well, you can still beat up the other team. It's a viable strategy.
And the trailer here says the game is in open alpha, or going into open alpha.
No, yeah, it's out in open alpha right now. You can on Ludosity's Twitter we have a link to our Discord group, and if you go on the Discord group, you can ask for keys to get in, so anyone can get a key. The alpha is still running open, so you can try it out yourself. And we have the slapcity.se homepage where you can also sign up for the game. More info on it. So it's still in alpha. It's still very early. We only got those few characters and few stages, but we're still building on it.
Right. The footage does look early in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so how long does the open alpha period going to last?
We don't have any like set plan for when we will cut it, but we are planning to put this game out on Steam Early Access. So when we launch it at Steam, the alpha won't be up anymore. But I can't say how long before that will happen, since we're still. We want to have some more content and some more polish up before we go onto Steam. Even though this Steam version won't be it will be our early access, so it won't be the finished product out there at first.
And in terms of early access, when do you see that occurring?
Yeah, I can't say for sure. We still have some stuff to do. I can't guarantee any like dates yet, but we will make an announcement when we know for sure. So if anyone's interested, just sign up to either our YouTube or the slapcity.se, and you'll have the info coming in when we're ready.
Indeed. And are you targeting consoles with this game event?
Yeah, we're always considering console releases and such. So we will be getting out on computer first, since we're going through Steam Early Access. But then after we're finally done with the game and it's out of early access, then consoles is not unlikely.
And I suppose on that note, is this game being built in like Unity?
Yes, we do almost all of our games in Unity.
Thought as much. That being mentioned before. Right then. Now, in terms of computer platforms, are you looking at Windows exclusively, or
no? We try to get it on as many platforms as possible. Our other games like Tilde 2 got on both Windows and Linux and Macs too. So we try to get it on as many computer platforms as possible.
That's good to hear. That's always good to hear. The other computer platformers getting support. Right. I'm going to turn once again to my colleagues here to see if they have any more questions for you.
I was about to ask about the consoles, but you beat me to it, so I got nothing.
All right. Fair enough. Alex?
I don't know too much. It certainly looks like it's a fun idea for a thing. And yeah, it looks like it plays pretty well from what I can see with the demo, with only 3 or 4 characters. So
yeah, there's only a few characters now, but I think the gameplay feel is really solid as of now. It feels good. We're just still tweaking some of the main gameplay things, but we're pretty much hammering it down soon. But yeah, try it out since it's free. If it looks interesting, to just get the Steam alpha. It doesn't cost anything just to try it out for 5 minutes or more if you like it.
Duly noted. Anyway, Nils, it was great having you on the broadcast.
Thanks for having me. It was great to come out.
Indeed. Hopefully, we'll probably have you on the show again when Slap City here is further along in development. Either early access. Yeah, either early access or maybe closer to release. Certainly yeah, when it's more available, you know,
Yeah,
when there's more.
and hopefully closer to the game we want it to become.
Yeah, because the game definitely has promise here, but it is clearly an early project. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing more out of Slap City, and yeah, if you wish to contribute to the open alpha, you can do that via their Discord server, and the links on Ludosity's Twitter feed.
Yes.
So-
It's always nice to see if new faces there. So you're welcome. We're on there chatting on work days on the Discord channel.
Sounds like some of the other Discords I know, and some of the other Discords I had to leave.
Okay.
Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our main show, where we'll be welcoming once again Joe Tringali of Digital Continue, and we'll be talking about next level heroes, or next up. Is it next level? Hang on, let me just make sure of the naming here. Yeah, next up hero. And I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully you are as well. So until tomorrow, I wish you good gaming.